back live. Yes. Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited. Hey, Thompson Higgins. Thompson Higgins is in the house. Hi, everybody. Hey, Larry. I dedicate this to you, Larry. We love you, Larry. I normally do these on Friday, but today I have to do it on Thursday to accommodate my guests, and also I'm away tomorrow, so I'm so excited. How are you guys? I mean, come on, look at this beautiful woman I have on my show today. Come on, yes. Welcome everybody, happy Thursday. Welcome into the room. Yes, this is my guest, Stefanie Batten Bland, who I will be bringing on in just a few moments. I just want to make sure we have some folks in the room to get started. Welcome, happy Thursday. Yes. Let's see what else we have. Okay. Gorgeous, right? Gorgeous. Hey, Scott. Hello, everyone. What a week, right? Oh my goodness, on this rainy Thursday, at least on the East Coast. Yes, I got my fan. It's humid in here. Welcome. Let's see, what else can we show? I'm good, thank you. How are you? Beautiful. Yes. Look at this gorgeous photo. Okay, come on, kids. Come on into the room. Yes. Hey, Paris. She is just light in love. Okay, we can be sisters. Look at that hair. I love it. Yes. Paris, I need to get you on, Paris. Hey, Jeffrey Bynum. Yes, happy Thursday. Okay, one more photo. Let me see. Oh, wait, I got to show this one because we were going to be talking about her performance coming up. Restart Stages at Lincoln Center. Yes. So happy to see you guys. Happy to be back live. I miss doing this. Okay. All right. One last one. Let's see. Gorgeous photo. Yes. Okay, Paris. I'm going to get you on soon. All right. So let me turn this down. First of all, happy Thursday. I am dannIGee. It's dannIGeeLive from Washington Heights. And my guest today is Stefanie Batten Bland. But before I bring her on, I just want to shout out everyone. Hey, Monique! I just want to shout out everyone who came to my Dance Is program this past Sunday at Summer Stage in Center Park. We had a blast, and thanks to everyone who was watching the live stream. All the companies, they were glorious. The films from Jacob Jonas. It was just such an amazing evening of love and camaraderie and respect and professionalism. The weather was gorgeous. And anyway, so just thank all of you for supporting Dance at Summer Stage and to continue supporting Dance at Summer Stage, whether it's live or virtual, but mostly live, we hope, going forward. So thank you again for that and welcome. So I have an amazing guest today. She has an extensive bio and I definitely want to make sure I read most of it, and also you can find her website linked to my link tree. But let me get started because she is an incredible artist. So Jerome Robbins Awardee, Stefanie Batten Bland is an interdisciplinary global artist who interrogates contemporary and historical culture and situates her work at the intersections of dance theater, film, and installation. A 2021 commissioned artist by Baryshnikov Arts Center and 2021 Toulmin Creator for New York University's Center for the Ballet Arts, Batten Bland is a choreographer for American Ballet Theatre's inaugural Women's Movement Initiative. Okay, kids, come on. She created her Company SBB in Paris in 2008 and established it in New York City in 2011 while in residency at Baryshnikov Arts Center and began her current residence at University Settlement. Known for her unique visual and movement aesthetic, she served as movement director for Eve's Song at the Public Theater and is currently casting a movement director for Immersive Productions. She's been commissioned by the European Union at the United Nations, Martha's Vineyard Museum, The Yard, Works in Process at the Guggenheim, Baryshnikov Arts Center, Brooklyn Museum of Art, Brooklyn Botanical Garden, Give Me Dance, the Juilliard School, Singapore Frontier Dance Land, Spoleto Festival, Italy, and Ailey 2. She has also been commissioned by several lifestyle brands, including Louis Vuitton, Guerlain, and Hermes. Okay, come on, Stefanie Batten Bland. She's been featured in the New York Times, Dance Magazine, Dance Europe, Marie Claire, TV5 Monde, and Dance Teacher Magazine, among others. She's an assistant professor in the Department of Theater and Dance at Montclair State University, where she teaches physical theater. She received her MFA in interdisciplinary arts from Goddard College and lives in Soho with her beautiful family. I added the beautiful, but they are. She regularly produced by LaMama Experimental Theater. She's premiered her last work, Look Who's Coming to Dinner at LaMama, in the fall of 2019. And the company just reopened live performance on Martha's Vineyard with a partnership between the Yard, Martha's Vineyard Museum, and the MV African American Heritage Trail. And they are bringing Look Who's Coming to Dinner to Lincoln Center's Restart Stages on this Tuesday, August 3rd, which is why she and I are talking today. So let me jump out of this photo. And, oh wait, hold on, sorry, cancel that. I mean, you can read all of that and more in the website linked to my bio, as well as links to the show that's coming up at Lincoln Center. Hey, Diane. All right, so let me go and grab, yes. Stefanie Batten Bland, kids. Hey. Hey, my lovely.
Hi.
How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. And I just love how like both of our hair just added such extra echo there.
Just
twins. Like echo. It just came and come on.
First of all, I am looking a little bit shiny, but that's okay.
Look, let's not lie.
It's a little humid, but that's right. I don't have central air, so I have to fan all the way across the room because I'm Washington Heights, no central air over here. But anyway, my love, thank you for doing this today. And how are you?
Amazing. I can't tell you. We literally were in rehearsal and finished, I think, at 3:50. Okay. Jumped in the car. Somehow convinced everybody at the Lincoln Tunnel that I needed to get through.
That's incredible.
I mean, like, just beautiful, but amazing. Because I mean, it's just so amazing to be able to be coming back, you know, yes. and to participate in what coming back means and
Absolutely.
What it could look like and everything.
Yes.
So I mean, it was a beautiful day. We haven't performed this piece easily in 2 years. I mean, right? Wow. I mean, because the pandemic really cut it off. It cut off its legs, truly, right?
Yes.
And there's sort of this thing where I feel like the industry is talking about like all of the catch-up that it has to do, but it's also really only interested in what's next at the same time. Mm. And it's sort of like, but there was really beautiful, valuable work that was also created that really merits its life and merits Absolutely. The life it's supposed to have. So it was very emotional today because we saw the whole structure and these are just such beautiful, gorgeous people that I have the honor of working with, and they shut me up.
That's a very valid point. Excuse me, I wipe my eyes. Pardon me, folks. But that's a very valid point that, you know, there was so much work that hasn't gotten a chance to be seen yet, and that needs to be seen. Like, you know, there was time and effort and love and care and blood, sweat, and tears put into works that just got poof. So they deserve to be seen. You're absolutely right about that. And so I appreciate you saying that. And so where are you guys rehearsing?
So this is one of these like amazing parts of being within an alliance with the university and within the higher education system, right? It's that we were at Montclair, mm-hmm. and so in complete and full theatrical conditions, and in a beautiful space, and that's where we've been rehearsing. So it's been really wonderful.
That's so incredible. So what I forgot to mention in the introduction is that I have had the pleasure of presenting your company. And I posted a promo video from 2016 when we were doing like It's My Park or something. And you were on there with our dear moms, Rich Medina, Roger Guinevere Smith. And so we originally were supposed to present Patience, which was a work contributed to your dad, the late great Ed Bland, who I also want to ask you about if it's okay. And it was supposed to happen in 2016, and then we got rained out. And you know, we were trying to wait.
That's right.
We were all there, and it just would not give us favor. And I mean, there was no one in the park. Like, we were just sitting on the stage chilling, and the project was with Orchestra,
That's right.
who are dear friends of mine from way back, Greg Tate and the crew, Mikkel Banks, everybody. And so we just sat there chilling, you know. And so I said, you know what, this piece is too beautiful, because I had seen it at Harlem Stage initially. And I was like, oh, this piece is gorgeous. So I ended up bringing Stefanie's company back in 2017, and we ended up doing it at East River Park, which I think just kind of worked out better. That setting,
Everything.
it was magical. So I'm so glad I got to present that piece and yourself. And so now here we are. And then we also did that, I forgot, the panel on women choreographers and women company leaders, dance company leaders, with you, Christine Cox, Yin Yu, the journalist Apollinaire Scher was the moderator. And so before I dig into all of what I want to ask you about, because I just did a panel a few weeks ago with New York Live Arts with all women choreographers, held by Jacqueline Buglisi, and you know, where do you feel like has it gotten better? I mean, pandemic aside, that panel was about, you know, women leading in dance and their companies. So do you think it's gotten better? Has there been any improvement since 2016, that panel?
Yeah, completely, because they're actually it's all completely connected, right? Yeah. I think what the sickness and what the pandemic and what the losses have provoked people to do in all parts of the institutions, which are the institutions that hire and bring us in and commission us, right? It obliged them to see who was present and who wasn't, and to take seriously why losses were occurring, and where the exodus of the industry was, or the emptiness without the industry. It created, as well as within all of our lives, it created several movements, right? And within the equality and Black Lives Matters movement, everyone was able to be seen again, and to, I think, really ask people to be accountable for their spaces that they run, and their placements and places. I don't doubt that this is a particular window. I think movements do come in repetitive cycles until they're gotten correctly, or until they're done right. I do hope that I can be a part of the movement and hold the window open as long as possible, right? Or and let everyone in, as well as let folks out too, right? This might not be, I think there's a really, I live in a co-op, right? So we're supposed to be in this honor system where we're supposed to absolutely say, yes, indeed, my family is growing, my family is not growing, right? And your apartment in function of that. And I think that keeping that window open also for people who might want to exit, that might actually say, you know what, my time might be best served by allowing to pass the torch on. And maybe the best part of my legacy might be to ensure that someone else can give legacy later as well, right? And that's I think that's a very personal choice, but I am aware of how much I worked during the pandemic, and how frightening that was, in a way that there was no childcare, there was no support. I was extremely fortunate to be with my mother, and we could quarantine down on her farm, which allowed great calmness in a moment of not. And so I think things did occur, but I think a lot of that also has to do with dance cinema and the fact that we've been making films for many years, and people just didn't want to watch a show from the back of the house anymore. They wanted to watch films, and I noticed we started just getting insane hits on our Vimeo accounts, and I was just like, right, because we've been doing this for years, and actually people are now kind of watching it. Right. Yeah, so it's wild. So I think there's a confluence of so many things that are occurring all at once, right? I think there is this obligation to admit that that some folks have been holding on to that pyramid model for a long time, and that perhaps a different model that is perhaps more circular, one that is perhaps more communicative, that doesn't have the same peaks, that only allow the empire to rule, right? But that, that still, of course, support leadership, but have a different listening, right? And if there's a different listening, then there's a different value that's going to sit in. And the minute we're all valued, look, all the products are going to be better. You're going to get a better render anyway in your box, and then you're granting, in the whole ecology of how we work. So yes, I think it's quite different. It's quite better. I'm curious about how long it will be better for, and
Right.
how long can that stay open? Can I
Right.
hold it open? Can that light stay on? I'll do my damnedest to make sure that that lasts for
Absolutely.
much longer than what I think the typical American cycle is.
Right. I mean, I've been having conversations with people that, you know, people of color, Black people specifically, who, you know, of course, we all noticed the George Floyd allyship that sparked up. And then already some of that stuff is falling by the wayside. And it's like, okay, so we knew that was coming. We knew that was coming, but there are some changes. We're not going back now. We are.
No,
But to your
no.
point of equity, so it was you that sent me a link today about the article that you were in. Like, there's actually a photo of you in the paper, the Village Sun. Speaking of equity, wait a minute, kids. So you were at a community board meeting, right, on the 26th, which was Monday, and you were featured in the photo of the article, and it describes you as a second-generation Soho artist. You spoke out strongly against Mayor de Blasio's Soho NoHo rezoning plan at this meeting. Local residents, echoing the resolution, the CB2 resolution, said that the rezoning will only make the area less diverse. They said they welcome more affordable housing, not just overdevelopment for luxury dwellings. And you were described as a choreographer, filmmaker of color, and that what you said was, quoted, "Here is some color they can look at." Okay! Wait a minute. Here is some color they can look at. If there's color seeping out of the neighborhood, it's because of the way we have allowed the neighborhood to gentrify. I saw families pack up and leave here when I was in middle school. So this thing of equity, and this, so tell us more about the fight that you guys are going through, because I wasn't even aware of what was going on downtown.
Oh, I think as with every neighborhood, right, that still has low dwellings or still has original dwellings, a financial district went through. I mean, who isn't? Which neighborhood
Right.
is not going through it? I mean,
Okay.
you know, right? I mean, come on. But I have not been able to get to as many board meetings as I had wanted to. But with the children out of town, I really was like, okay, I'm back from France. I'm jet lagged, but I'm getting to this meeting. I'm going to get there. And I got there, and I just had no idea how slick the developers' game was, right? How they send in armies of young people that are talking about how this space is so racist, and et cetera. And I was just looking around, I was like, well, why don't we actually talk about what occurred? Because the first exodus of Soho of the 80s and 90s preyed exactly on the jazz musicians because they knew they didn't have the intergenerational wealth to buy their lofts. So why don't we just actually talk about the first upzoning, right? That was 100% due to how our parents, and or some folks' grandparents, had helped create this really like kind of scary, rotten neighborhood and turned it into this flourishing, expressive one that then folks realized they could make some bank off of.
Okay.
Right. So why repeat that when we actually have what I saw de Blasio's plan as was really just another example of repetitive erasure. And it's we know how to erase people really well here. So how about we just not? And take the community's plan that will increase the amount of housing and really support our elders who we treat like trash, who the tourists treat like trash, just so they can get a donut croissant mix thing, and like not even let the children cross the streets as they're trying to get to daycare, and like you still yell at them because they don't have a mask on. I'm done. I was like, I heard them all talk about how there was no color, and I was like, you know what? Let's just really, and I'm sure the developers paid you well for being here tonight.
Right.
But actually, I think we should, to the community board, I said, thank you for letting me speak, because I was like one of the last ones. So I was like, listen, I think we really need to talk about what's going on here. And a lot of times we can't be there because we've got kids or we're working. Right. And you can't be there. So no, it meant the world to me to be there. I had no idea I was going to be the cover girl of that.
Cover girl.
My aunt sent it to me the next day. My aunt, she sent it to me the next day.
Of course, with the pandemic, with all the marches, I went to a couple, terrified, because this was before any vaccine or anything else. But there is a point where you really do have to put boots to the ground and get out there in the streets and go to these meetings. I mean, that's how anything's going to change. I mean, we can sit behind our computers all day long and rage out. I mean, which I do a lot of, but rage out on Twitter. But nothing's really going to happen until you put boots to the ground and get up in those meetings and make your voices heard. Yeah. I mean, my goodness. So to that end, like, I always have to go back a little bit in people's lives because we've known each other for years. We've orbited around each other. I presented you and all the above, but we've never actually sat down and had a coffee or a cocktail. So I'm really fascinated because looking back through your journey, like your parents, first of all, your mom, a science writer, writing for. Tell me about your mom, Mary, right? Mary.
That's right, Mary Batten. That's right.
Farm.
Well, she's one of these, she's one of these Southern women that, of European descent, that, her family can go back to easily the 1700s, if not before. And, I mean, it's something that she knew she didn't agree with, however she was being raised, even though she comes from an extremely loving family. There was something she disagreed with how her town acted, how she was taught, who knows what, and she knew she needed to, she expressed herself through words. That it's funny, though the South is really like one of the epicenters of writers, it's of certain types of writers, right? And from certain spaces, the tiny town person generally has to leave to go somewhere to be accepted and then can come back as a hometown hero. And that's kind of her story. She moved to New York and,
from Virginia, right?
That's right. Yeah. I mean, was like one of the first women to have a Fulbright to France. And, I'm one of the, just one of these just badass women. Right.
Yeah.
And of course, come on, when my father, right. And the recording studio, these two, like just a mess. And my dad, just a hot mess because, we always would like joke and be like, my mom's she's the one that's stuck. But, come on, it's these Jasmine, we're messy. And
so your dad's from Chicago.
Right. And dad's from Chicago, and he's also what a fascinating case too, because he was of a family that had, through the Great Migration, I'm the youngest of older parents, right? So it's like by the time I came around, my dad was already well into his 50s, and really like he is of a generation where you were going to be a postal worker, you were going to be a functioner, and participate in society to such a degree that you would bring honor to the family. And jazz was really devil's music. And the only person who understood the music was his grandmother, Philomene, who my daughter is named after, from the French Creole side. And she was just like the magical one that like infused in him that he needed to go. I mean, because he was an Ellington prodigy and he was brilliant. And, and he came to New York and started working for Tatum, started working, who my son's named after, and started working, and arranging and making music. And then he made The Cry of Jazz, which became this prolific film within the community. And it's beautiful because Patience, what you actually presented, was at this moment when he was being honored in the Library of Congress at film festivals. Like, it was like, how is it? They wait till folks get into their 80s. They try to rush a DVD through, or like they try to rush that documentary through, and everyone is just trying to catch up. And it was just so wonderful. That piece Burnt Sugar is probably the only musical entity that could handle what we were doing.
Yes.
And, I mean, truly, like Greg and Chris, I mean, all of them, it just, yeah, I mean, so it's, my brothers and I, we hail from wonderful examples of artists who make the artist's life normal, right? Which is actually what New York is made up of.
Exactly.
I know only sometimes a certain part of us gets spoken about, the Broadway part, right? But we all make this economy run.
Hello.
And so if we could just kind of really celebrate that we're just a bit more normal in our lifestyle, then like the fabric of our existence wouldn't be so threatened by these huge developers that want more glass towers. And I was like, you want to turn us into Singapore, then let's just look like Singapore then what's the point of being in New York?
Exactly. Well, I love that you brought up post office, because I did read that your grandfather worked at the postal service.
That's right.
And so my mom, who was born in 1947, she worked at the post office, raising myself and my sister for 30 years. And you're right, that generation of, you get a good job and you hold on
That's
to
right.
it. She suppressed all of her artistic dreams for us. And, and it was a thankless position that she was in, working all kinds of crazy hours and backbreaking work sometimes. And so even now today, I mean, she was just with me this past week, and her first time back to New York and carrying on around the city. She was exhausted.
That's beautiful.
It was great to have her here. So I just want to show her and treat her to the best of the best, for whatever year she has remaining, God willing.
Absolutely.
And so, but with your parents being older parents, and your mom was born like 30s, I guess your dad too, did they, as an interracial couple, because you're in an interracial marriage, did they come across any sort of like, controversy or?
Oh, all the time.
All the time, right?
I mean, all the time.
Even in New York.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, come on, this is the 80s. This is like the late 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like our neighbor, I remember growing up, learning how to walk down, every New Yorker I think grows up like this, like where a parent follows you down the street to make sure you know how to cross the street. But like part of my growing up, well, my brothers in particular, was how to avoid, which sides were the Italian gangs on, which side were the Irish gangs on, which side were the Chinese gangs on, right? Because we were still, even though it was Soho and Little Italy, everyone was still, the blocks were really quite tight and in feeling, and how to get home without getting knifed from from PS3.
Okay.
And then once I went to PS234, so we were already busing, right? So it was already a little bit different down into Tribeca, but I'd say they're all the genius around how they maneuvered through this. I mean, they went through hiding things from their particular families, and that brought on different kinds of stresses and issues later. But I think what they did very well is that if they knew how to hide in plain sight, and then they knew how to be in plain sight, and then they knew how to take the power and turn the sight onto them as, again, an example of normalcy. Right. Yes. So I think it's just important to be able to negotiate all those ways of living a successful life. And that's I think that's what they did. I think they did that very well. In the end, their later years, they moved back down to Virginia. My mom's still alive, and, she's known as like that wacky lefty that had those Obama signs down, or still had the Biden-Harris sign down, And
yes, Mom.
And there's a lot going on. There's a lot of different kinds of flags around her now, and it's a very fascinating thing to live with. But she's respected and she's loved, and I think everything that they went through, what they instilled in us was just that we're valuable.
Yes.
And we should know that.
Yes, that's so beautiful, and I just love hearing familial stories of people that I admire, because it's just fascinating to me, like how they grew up. And so how did dance find you?
What an accident. I mean, they definitely weren't the types that were going to make me do what they did. That's for sure. I mean, it was very clear that no one was going to go run a startup. That was kind of clear. Like, that wasn't happening. But a different kind of startup. Right?
Yeah.
But I feel like, we got evicted out of here, and I went we were in junior high school and high school in LA, and out there was a really difficult transition for us as East Coast people. I had never done anything to my hair up until that point, and I didn't fit in with that. We didn't live in the neighborhood where most of the mixed families lived. It was, my mom kept getting carjacked. Like, it was rough.
Wow.
It was really rough. And I was a part of a huge political group. That was the only place where I really felt comfortable. And as Mandela was released, and we our sit-ins were sort of ending, and our protests were sort of ending, and they were becoming these like really beautiful marches and things like this for him. It was time to choose the high school, and everybody I knew was in the performing arts high school. And obviously it was clear I needed to go into that. And I had always been flexible. I had always been, long and gooey. And I had definitely gone into jazz classes and ballet classes, like when I was like 13 or 14. And then, I was like, then I had to, I had to play electrical guitar. I had to get really punk. I had to go through it. I had to really go through it. And then I was like, right, I need to get into this school is what I need to do. And I was like, you know what, I'll audition under dance, and then maybe I'll transition to theater for the next semester. And because I knew I was always very theatrical, but I could count more on my body than I could my voice. And so I went and I auditioned. And I started that fall. They put me in class with Matthew Rushing. He was a senior.
What?
And I walked in there, and I was just kind of like, you know, and I could like copy. I could copy and
Right.
paste. And I was like, but I had no idea what they were doing.
Oh
Like
my
they
God.
were speaking a language that was so advanced. And I broke down crying, and this beautiful teacher, Karan Brown, she came up to me and she said, so I think maybe this might be too advanced for you. And I said, and that was it. Like, that was kind of it. It was, we were done. We were done.
Yeah.
And I think that school saved my life out on the
Oh,
West Coast, because it really was, you know, there's those teachers like that, you know, you can count them, right? Like the Don Bondi, the Karan Brown, the Kazuko, right? You know, it's like,
Yes,
you know, you just, they're right there, and they're the ones that question you, as well as they allow you to find the answers that are right for you. And then that was it. You know, I said, really, guys, I said, we really need to leave the West Coast. Like, this place is, it's whack. Like, I can't handle this. You know, I love it as an adult. It's so interesting. As an adult, I really enjoyed working there back in the day for Julie Taymor and Plezhnokaj. With that Des was in.
What?
You know, come on, Grindle. That Desmond was in. Yeah.
Yes!
I was a part of the French team that came over to be in there.
No way. Oh, wow.
Totally. So
That
I
was
I had
major.
fun. I had fun there. See, I just slipped a LA in there. Yeah, and you know, but I was like, guys, I need to go back east. Like my brother had already come back east, and I was like, this is too much. Like, I don't speak this. I don't speak the car culture, the separation culture. Like, I need a train where you got to rub up on everybody and wish they had smelled differently, you know. But you know.
Yeah. And so you came back east, and where did you go to school? Where did you
I
continue
went to Purchase really briefly.
Okay.
And then I tried to leave dance again. You know, I had a great idea, like, that I was done with it. And because, you know, when you're a scholarship student, you know, they can run you ragged, right?
Yes.
You have to be in all the performances. They pull you out of your classes and all of this. And I really I went through like my vegetarian moment, and you know, like all this. I got too skinny. I mean, like the whole thing, all of it.
Yeah.
And I tried to leave, and then like that. Remember that great Kevin Wynn?
Yes.
Just he's such a gift to this earth. He called me one day and was just like, you know, are you done? Are you done pouting? Are you ready to come back? He said he had a Joyce season, and that just kind of started it back. And from there, then it was like bloop. Then I met Craig Patterson and everything he was doing with White Oak, and then bloop. Next thing I know, Bill, and I got hired by Bill. And it was
right.
yeah.
So, you know, I forgot about the Bill moment. What were the Bill years?
I think I'm the end of the century. So my Bill years are 97 to 01, or before the towers went down. So yeah, 01. Yeah.
So the Bill we're talking about obviously is Bill T. Jones.
Bill T. Yeah.
Following. And then we're going to start really quickly and just thank you all who are watching now. I'm talking with Stefanie Batten Bland. There's a show coming up at Restart Stages that I promise you we will get to, because I definitely want to know all about that. So the Bill T. Jones moment. What was it like working for Bill? So I worked on his upcoming premiere, Blue Whale or something, that's going to be at the Armory that's coming up, when he was workshopping it at like APAC 2 years ago. Okay. And he just needed some extras. And so Paloma McGregor reached out and was like, do you want to come be an extra in this thing, dancing? I was like, girl, what do I have to do? Like, I haven't danced in forever. So he basically had us running around, falling to the ground. And when I tell you, I was sore for a week. But it was wonderful. So working with Bill T. Jones, challenging,
was
wonderful.
Really, I think was a life changer. You know, I think I met someone who was at a point in their lives where they were creating from a very fiery place, and I saw the world with them. I met some of my dearest friends for life. Right, I met my lifers there. Yeah. And I think I learned exactly why I dance, or why I do art, or why I make art. And it's for different reasons than him. So it was very clear when it was time to leave. But but it was, yeah, I mean, it was unlike anything I had ever experienced. Of course, it was rooted in this very American postmodern way of expressing ideas and attacking issues, and I greatly appreciated that. And you know, I mean, I think I was a little naughty towards my end because I had already met Pina and I had guested for her, and so it was sort of like this little like naughty period. And then I was able to clearly leave the company and, you know, and go guest for her. But
Oh
it
my
was,
God.
you know, it was, I'll never forget it. You know, I mean, I think he absolutely instilled in me the fight, you know.
Yeah. Now, were you there at the same time as Jamal Barnes?
Of course. Of
Yes.
course.
I love Jamal Barnes. I gotta get Jamal on this.
Oh God.
What a wonder kid
Oh.
he is. But wait, so Pina Bausch, oh my God, right.
Right, I was that weirdo that left Bill. I remember distinctly, even some of my very dear friends that looked at me and they're like, you know, you're crazy. No one leaves Bill. And you don't leave Bill for some like Euro lady. And I was like, but she's really theatrical.
Yeah.
And it was the thing that I wasn't doing. I think there was a real physical side of me that was extremely fulfilled with Bill, but there was a theatrical side there that I think when I saw her work for the first time, I literally, I think I melted.
Wow.
And I literally was like, oh, the fusion was there. I understood the fusion between the two. I understood what's so unique about how our postmodernism developed on this side and what we had to counter in creating our own vocabulary due to how we had to separate ourselves from ballet in the States. And then I think then through like Dunham, through Lester, through Mr. Ailey, I think how they started bringing storytelling back in through very literal roots. Well, I was a part of the abstract world, right? I was a part of this like kind of like neutral place, except that you would use voice, but in very first degree ways. And I was watching this piece. I don't even remember what we saw, and I just said, wow, there's degrees of separation here. And that kind of reminded me of my dad's music, right? I mean, I feel like jazz has these ways of coming together in complete clarity, and then there's dissonance, and then there's and then there's theme and variation, all these. I mean, this happens in all forms of dance, but there was something that I could relate to through the physicality and the theatrical offering that made a lot of sense to me. Beautiful. And then from her, I went to physical theater companies, or another dance theater company, and some physical theater companies, and that's when I really started getting it that material, self, and story were all unique, could be united equal players, and that was very meaningful to me.
And so what was the move to France and then starting, you know, your company?
I feel like, you know, we're French Creole on my father's side, but it's not why I speak. I speak because of my mother and the brilliant books that she wrote, and during a lot of her career was with the Cousteau Society. And I would spend after schools in the office as a little kid, and well, they would only speak French.
Oh, wow.
And so it just started slipping in. And so next thing I know, by the time I was on my first tour with Purchase, I was like, oh, I know what we're talking about here. It was just so wild. So I had always been very comfortable in French. And then with Pina's crew, I fit in most with the French crew, and that was the most natural. And there were a few Americans there, but you know, there weren't that many Americans in her team at that point. And I was very comfortable with the French team. Yeah. And so then
I is watering like crazy. Give me one quick second.
Come on.
I don't know what is happening here. I have my little fan on, and it's like blowing like right directly to me. So I am so sorry. Please continue.
No. So I think, you know, I mean, I fell in love, and he was French, and you know, and so when it was time to like figure out what were we gonna do, his home was in France, so you know, and I was working in Switzerland, so that was a really nice commute. You know, it's quick, but you know, those trains there are so quick. And then the Josephine Baker musical started, and you know, I mean, I worked for a wonderful choreographer from the Ivory Coast, Georges Monboy, who was also looking at, African and contemporary constructs around the Rite of Spring and things like that. Had a wonderful time with him. And then Paul Frenek out of Hungary and France, and he was really physical theater and out there and just great. And then and the Paris Opera, the comique branch was auditioning for Joe, and my agent sent me out, and I ended up being the head choreographer of that thing with an amazing team of choreographers and performers and musicians, and they were mainly American, and American and French. And it was one of those things, you do that, you kind of hit one of these enormous institutions, you kind of you sort of have these really great aha moments, right? And I definitely had that there, and they gave me the space to make my first show there, and that's kind of what started it all. So like, you're in your you just hit 30, everyone's at their power game, you just call up your friends, they all come rolling in, you're on an opera stage, you have a beautiful show, it gets bought, you go around with it. And we started coming back to the States touring, and everyone started telling me about how, well, in the States you do residencies and then you perform, and you should just, get into that and see what that's like. And when we started doing that, and then, my parents were getting older, Obama was president, and, a very dear supporter of Bill's, who was just very dear to me, threw a huge party for me to test, maybe looking into what it might be to come back. And Misha came, and because my publicist.
Come on.
Remember I had worked
there,
Remember I had worked for Craig Patterson, so he had known me actually my whole career. He's seen me with actually everyone I've ever danced for. He has. It's kind of wild. And he came as my publicist, was his publicist anyway, all these things, right? And next thing you know, he was just like, well, what are you doing now? He's like, we've lost Pina. And he's like, I think the States might be ready for this kind of work now. And he was like, listen, I made a building. So, he's like, why don't you bring your people tomorrow and we'll take a coffee? And I was like, Mom, we need people. We need people tomorrow. Like people, like folks, someone grab some glasses, someone get a tie. We need, a small dog, whatever, let's go. Let's do this right.
That's so
and that kind of started the beginning of all of it. And that was like my first Jerome Robbins and BAC collaboration. And I came home, I think from that, I came home like a year and a half later.
Right. And so were you able to bring your dancers with you mostly? Yeah,
so what we mainly do is, and we still kind of operate in the same way. We have the three of us that started this thing. There's a few more than three, but like I'd say that the hub company in France was myself, Raphael, and Emily. And like we were like the three métis, like you put us all together, we're like 7 countries all together. It's gorgeous. And we represent so much of the right now, right? And but embedded with a lot of like historical passages. And then we have the amazing American team. And so depending on where we are, we sort of just mix, right? So obviously when in the States, we're more American heavy, and when we're in Europe, we're a bit more European heavy. And that also just really helps with the way that the industry has shifted past the recession of the '08s, right? And the realities associated with that. But I think in 12, it was, I was firmly here, and I closed down the French non-for-profit, and then I went the fiscal sponsorship route here because, after going through paperwork and bureaucracy in France, you really just don't want to go through that again the rest of your life. So, and I really was very curious as to how it worked in the States, how you could do commercial work and non-for-profit work. And I was like, right, okay, so the fiscal sponsor is really the best way to make all of those monies safe. It was the right move to come back. And now, of course, we go back and forth so regularly, it's comical. And, yeah, so now, I mean, like we've got our residency in New York is with University Settlement, and in France it's at the American Center for Art and Culture. And it's beautiful. And
Yeah.
COVID was very difficult because we were all quite separated, you know.
And so now you're about to launch. So tell me about Look Who's Coming to Dinner, right? Am I getting the name right?
Yes, yes,
Right.
yes.
So tell me about this work and,
well,
and the scope of it.
it's massive in scope, as was the film, right? So the film was Guess and ours is Look.
Right.
Because I think actually we do know who's coming to our door. I think our parents do know who we really truly are and what's happening.
So Guess Who's Coming to Dinner was Sidney Poitier, right?
Correct, right. So this was the Stanley Kramer film with Poitier, Hepburn, and Spencer Tracy, right?
Yes.
And so what I was really curious about was if we actually know who's coming, it's more, to me, it was more about how do we let them in? And so before we get to the dinner, it's actually what are all of the ways in which we either open doors and make space for people or don't. And and that all of the characters that we were inspired by from the film, we kind of break down into all of the raging conversations. So it's not only based in ethnicity, it's also based within sexuality, paying homage to Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy and the things that they hid and always playing a couple within heterosexual spaces for Hollywood, which allowed them to live their true love live couple as supporting one another when their true lovers would show up, right? And then, of course, outside of all of the racial colorings and all of the complexities around just whatever other means to anyone, right? I always giggle when someone says, you know, when I look at one of the American sheets and you're this, that, or now there's like so many things to fill out. It's just fatiguing. And I'm like, you know, American would suffice with some geography as opposed to these really fascinating color schemes. Anyway, but it's with seven performers. They're absolutely brilliant, and we tweaked it a little bit so that it also really represents this moment and this idea of what it's like to come back to the table now and to be welcomed now, when we are still quite fearful of touch, when we're still quite fearful of coming back together and everything that you know requires, right? And it's been amazing. I mean, like it's our big hitters. It's our A-list, right? It's Latara Wilson. It's Ryan Roland Smith, right? It's, you know, David Parker. You've got like the Claire Geringer in there. You've got like the Rachel Watson-G, you know, like who just like slaps you with beauty so much with her afro. You're like, I can't even take it anymore. I can't take it anymore. You know, you've got Neo. I mean, like it's in the Miguel Anaya. You know, like you're just. Oh yeah, I mean, you know, and Paul Damien Hogan is the composer who I've been collaborating with for years now. Shane Ballard is the costume designer because he seems to completely understand that I love to talk about different types of skins, and that also has to do with clothing and layers and what we take on and take off and what we choose to take on and take off, what we're allowed to. So it's a wonderful collaboration. Yuki Link did the lights in collaboration with Clifton Taylor. And so doing this in an outdoor scenario, it sort of changes the focus a little bit because we are outdoors. It's celebratory.
That's going to be in the main space in Damrosch?
This is one of the restart stages. So this is the restart stage that's in front of the library next to the fountain. Okay. Right next to the fountain. In front of the library. So it's, I mean, it's overwhelming because you're sitting here and you're thinking about what it means, for us to be back together. Some of us were together out on Martha's Vineyard reopening performance out there a few weeks ago. But for the whole, like, this is a large piece. This is a seven person. And for people to really think of coming back together again in your home is tremendous. So it's just, how do we ensure that continues?
And there's like, I saw in the photos, there's a big table. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be jumping around and on it or under it, all the above, right? I don't
you know. And there's tablecloths because, you know, you gotta have a layer.
So now Restart Stages, is this one of the performances where you need tickets or no?
So this is one of those weird lottery tickets for the pod seating, right?
Yeah.
So they told me it was sold out 2 days ago. But then, because everybody got so riled up about it because it's a little complicated, this whole pod lottery thing, they said that they were going to release new tickets starting tomorrow. So that was really positive to hear.
Yes. And what time does it start on Tuesday?
7 o'clock. 7 o'clock.
Okay. So if you're just joining, you're listening in. So Tuesday, Lincoln Center, Restart Stages in front of the library at 7 p.m. Just go, show up, go support all of that. Carry on.
Yeah, because I was even standing. I was standing on the fountain. I was like, so if I can't sit, if you're standing on the fountain, you can still see quite well.
Right.
So I'm just really curious how they're going to.
Yeah. I can't. So, I mean, I have tickets for something else that I'm trying to get out of because I really want to come. But are these shows being live streamed? Should people know that?
No, they're not.
Right? Okay. Yeah. Because we went that whole live stream model now. That was, I mean, I'm glad for it because Summer State is such an international brand, or we say we are. And so it was great that, I mean, that was one of the silver linings that, you know, came out of this was we decided because initially we were going to do a very small capacity within the Central Park venue. So we said, well, you know, why don't we live stream? Because we want as many people to see what we're doing as possible. And the equity issue came up and all of this. So now that we have reopened capacity, we're still live streaming the free show. Great. But I think it's wonderful because you see your point. People are still a little skittish. And now with, first of all, these variants, okay. So I think, I mean, I'm hopeful, I'm prayerful that we know it's still, you know, it's still a thing, right? But that won't be what it was last year and even earlier this year. I'm just praying and hopeful. But I feel like, you know, people are hungry for this. It's going to be exciting, especially outdoors. I think outdoors is a little bit different. And so what else would you want people to know coming to, or just come and experience it?
I think just come. I think it's a wonder. I mean, we're going to be booming that whole plaza. I mean, the sound is just going to ricochet all around. I mean, but I think it's always moving for, you know, a home base troupe to perform in its home base.
Yes.
I think it's going to be a bit emotional because I think the pieces, right, regardless of whether, you know, I think what we do well is we honor the film, but we also honor the film within context of today, right?
Sure.
That don't we all just want to be able to touch somebody again? Yes. You know, and we are. So let's make sure that we continue to do so because we know we'll be the first ones cut.
Okay. Right.
So can we ensure that we're not?
Thank you.
You know, I'm really fascinated about how we're talking about vaccines. It's like you want to talk about economy.
Right.
Well, we can't do anything without our card.
Yeah.
We can't do anything because the insurances won't allow it. So then it goes back to the power of the institutions, right? So, but still, it's if we want the economy running, then I think we all need to do our part, regardless of how we feel at some point.
Exactly.
Like at some point, we want to be participating for the global good. Right?
For the global good. Thank you. I mean, that's how it was on Sunday. You know, we had our regulations in place, and it really was, I think, 5 out of the 6 companies that performed on Sunday had not performed in New York, except for Souls of Duende. And so, you know, complexions and Kyle Abrahams, it was all day long. I mean, I got there earlier than I normally would, just, you know, to just be there as everybody arrived. Because it was just like, yes, all day long. And it's really, as much as I hate, as we all have hated this pandemic, but that sense of coming back is not, there's nothing like it. It's seeing your people again, your community. And it was like a big old family reunion because these are dancers, especially on my show, that would normally go to each other's shows, see each other in class, see each other at the club, you know, just wherever, right? And so this is the first time a lot of them were able to all see each other again. And I just felt so happy. Like, you know, Mother Ginger to bring that all. I said Mother Ginger, bring that all together. So speaking of mother, wait. Before I let you go, tell me about your babies. Tell
Yeah,
me what
did you
it's
notice
like
how
being a working
quiet the
mom.
house is? You know how quiet the house is right
Yes.
now? No, I
Yes.
have such an exquisite partner, and he
Yes.
knew. I mean, I think once we realized how the industry was like slamming back in, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm also working for Immersive Productions for their next show. They're the
Mm-hmm.
Sleep No More producers, and
Yes.
you know, he really saw the kind of summer I was about to have. So
Mm-hmm.
we were finally allowed to get back to France and, you know, be with family.
Yeah.
So he stayed over there and kept them.
Oh, is that where they are now?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Floating and, you know, playing with horses and the goats, and it's like they're not,
yes.
we're not Paris people. They're, you know, it's tiny village people. So it's
Yeah.
really beautiful for them. And I came back here alone. Hence I can go to community board meetings. I'm out here, you know, I went out, I'm going out. It's
Yeah.
amazing. I'm seeing things. I think I've seen 4 shows now.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I wake up at you know at 8. It's amazing.
So you're
But
taking a moment. You're
it's
taking a moment.
I have to say, like, he really did right by me in allowing me to get all of this together, because it's enormous. It's enormous.
Yeah.
So they are amazing. Philomene is 8, and Tatum's almost 3, and they are just, yeah,
Tato.
and
Oh,
they're happy as they, you know, I notice now when they FaceTime me, they're kind of like, okay, Mama.
I love it. I love.
Like
Oh my God. Oh my
they're
goodness. And
busy. They're
what's your
busy.
partner's name? Is it
Jean-Claude.
Guillaume? Oh,
Jean-Claude.
Jean-Claude.
Jean-Claude. Yeah, Guillaume was the
That's
first one. That's all
yeah.
right. That's we gotta go back. You know, we gotta go back. We gotta celebrate them all. Hey, it takes a
That's
lot
right.
to get here. It takes a lot to get
Hey,
here.
come on, right? But that's beautiful though. And do they realize like what mommy does?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Philomene definitely says that dancing is what I do, and it's what she does in her room. She
Yes.
likes to make comic books and draws and makes her own books, is very busy.
Yes.
Tatum is very busy, you know, making his pee caca in the toilet. It's very exciting for him right now. And has great aim. I don't know where to go. You know, I mean, he's hilarious. They're hilarious. They're hilarious. They, you know,
I love
they
it.
sing each other to sleep. They, you know, they
Yes.
argue with each other. But yes, I mean, I'm also very protective of the private and public life, right? So it's
Sure.
like you know, they'll come to rehearsals, but then they should go home and do things for them.
Yeah.
Um, my parents did a bit of like dragging me around things, and sometimes you love it and it's amazing, and
Yeah.
sometimes like, you know, you another support system could have been in place if they had had that up, if they had had that choice, right? I think something very
Yeah.
different between being a first generation artist and a second generation artist is that you got to see the feast and famine, right?
Yeah.
And you got to see and recognize that, and I want to make sure that they have that they are exposed and that they participate. I mean, they love the dance. Everybody, come on, this team is beautiful, and they feel very comfortable with them, and you know, they are a part of rehearsals and will show us things that we don't know about. But then they also need to go and, like, you know, make forts and, you know,
Right.
play with rocks, or, you know, eat them, or, you know, and do their thing. And I
Yes.
also need to be able to work
Hmm.
and be okay saying that I get to work, right? And that
Yes.
that's my right, and that
That's
I,
right.
as an artist parent, have the right to have the same focus as the startup guy, right? And
Yes.
that support isn't something that support should be normal. It goes back to the
Exactly.
same thing, right? It's just normal. If it's
That's right.
normal, it's normal,
I
right?
love
And
that.
then we're all valued.
I love that. And I love, because obviously we follow each other on social, but I just love the photos that you do post. And I love seeing the photos over the years of you pregnant. It's beautiful. Okay. Oh, so adorable and sweet and precious. These times are so precious.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
after we go off here, I'm going to pack up and head to the Bouquet's place and spend some quality time with the man. But
Yes.
it's it's about that, and it's really like my friend circle, like who I call my real tight tribe.
Yeah.
That has really gotten smaller and smaller over the years, and I'm really okay with that. Like I have a lot of what I call, I know a lot of people,
Yes.
but my tribe is too.
Yes. Yes. I 100%. 100%.
Yeah. So after Lincoln Center, what's coming up?
Well, then it goes, right. So then we will be done with hopefully the last final casting for this immersive show. And then Look Who's Coming to Dinner goes right back up at peak performances. And then Embarked starts. So Embarked is what we just want some really beautiful support, and I know I'm not allowed to talk about it yet, but it's like, thank you, thank you,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
And this is a tremendous piece that really celebrates and looks at our passage here and how we use textiles as a way to create our identities, as well as how we say what we have the right to own, how we mark territory, how we use what clothing and expression means. And so Embarked is Stories of Our Soil, and it will be premiered at Duke Performances in the spring. Yes. And we just came out of a huge workshop of it out at the Yard, which is where it was inspired, and we worked with the sailors to create an enormous schooner, like slave ship mast.
Oh, wow.
To really honor the trajectory. And we changed that mast. That mast transforms into flagpoles. It transforms into homes. And
nice.
I really like this idea of history being in plain sight. And as we're looking at monuments, and as we're looking at, how we claim and share our memory, I think there's a way to do that doesn't oblige us only to look up. We can also look straight on at something, right?
Yes. Yes. And I feel like you do that so well. It's awesome. Well, this has been awesome talking to you. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
To go, dig in with you and get to know you better. And I'm wishing you all the love and favor with Mother Nature as well for Tuesday. So guys, if you're watching, the link to the show is in my link tree, as well as Stefanie's website. So you can find out all about her and follow her, support her, donate, all of the above. And any final words before I let you out?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I love being here with you. I just love it. I've loved this whole series. It's just been, it's been great.
That means to be continued. I'll see how long I can keep it going. I'm having fun. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right, bye, Stephanie. Have a great show on Tuesday and beyond.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You know how to let yourself out there?
You know I don't. You know I don't. You know I don't.
Oh,
yeah, I do.
Okay, all right. All right. Bye. Oh my God, the amazing Stefanie Batten Bland. So yes, if you're in the city on Tuesday, please go to Lincoln Center for Restart Stages. And Look Who's Coming to Dinner is her project that she will be presenting there Tuesday evening at 7. You can find more information in my link tree. And it looks like I have another person that wants to come in. No? Okay. Okay. So that was my show for today. Thank you again to Stefanie. And again, thank you all who came out to my Dance Is this past Sunday. It was amazing. And again, thanks to all of the companies, the managers, the agents, the choreographers, and of course you, the audience. I will see you next week. Please come to Summer Stage. We're going until October, so we're back. And be safe out here in these streets with this variant. Wear your masks. Do what you need to do to keep yourself, your neighbors, and your loved ones safe. So I appreciate you all. I love you, and I will see you next week. Bye.